Hi Pisces, welcome to your reading. Today we're going to talk about certain aspects that are going to play out throughout the year of 2021. They're getting kicked off in February, but we will see the impact of them throughout 2021. One of the key ones is Jupiter, the planet of expansion, growth, and faith, sitting in your house of spirituality, in your house of awakening, in your house of comfort, in your house of things that happen out of nowhere. This is the place where Jupiter brings in guardian angels, it brings out hidden saviors sometimes. It is the light in the darkness. Just when things seem a little bit of bleak at a time, there's a hand of God or some sort of higher power that helps us through, guards us through a difficult situation. Jupiter in the 12th is all about deep faith in richness of life. It opens us up to a new view of life, to a new way of thinking about life. It does at the start shed the light to all the beliefs and the subconscious patterns that are not serving us, even some of the spiritual beliefs that are not serving us. And it helps us, along with Saturn, restructure those beliefs, restructure that thinking process, restructure the subconscious pattern below the surface that are in play and that impact everything that is going on the surface. There are certain sudden hidden desires, hidden talents, hidden positive patterns as well that come to surface. There are sometimes gains by learning behind the scene. There are gains by leaving past behind, closing some old chapter. There are gains driven by releasing fears, releasing inhibition, trusting our own intuitions in some way. It's the time when we are more subtle, more hush in some ways, not in the face of people as much. Because we're discovering peace within, we're discovering harmony within. We discover some secret doors, some secret avenues that open up to us, just purely because we release a little bit of control on life. Saturn in our house of subconscious makes us take our subconscious very seriously, our psyche very seriously, because we start seeing the manifestation of taking control of those patterns in the outside world, taking control of those, slaying those dragons below the surface, so as to speak, handling some fears, handling some subconscious patterns that have been blocking us in the past. We start seeing the benefits of that. In this phase, most of us feel like we don't know who we are because it's a time of a little bit of dissolution. Saturn is coming full circle here. And Saturn is going to be here till March of 2023 before it goes in your sign. So, in that process, it's going to make some very subtle changes in your way of thinking and seeing life. And it will slowly but steadily dissolve the old self image you have. It will disengage you from expectations of others, of a self image that was created, or a ego image. Sometimes we all attach to an identity, we all identify ourselves. This is who I am, this is how I've lived my life. But many parts of that identity are created on the basis of expectations of the society, expectations of others, expectation of people who mean a lot to our life but may not know who we truly are. Saturn over here strips away the external image. We meet ourselves here. This is the house of self contemplation. And this year, you'll have a lot of planets sitting over here. And in the sign of Aquarius, which Saturn, Jupiter are this year, you'll find certain spiritual awakening. You'll develop some spirituality, even in a group. We sometimes join like minded groups where the aim is to discover our hidden talents, hidden our faith, find meaning in life in some ways. And you look for that meaning in everything you do. You look for that meaning in some work that you're doing. It's like every project, every work, every job, every career choice you're making, you'll try to find where do you fit in the larger picture. Where does that fit in the larger picture of where you're going? What is the meaning in that? What is the meaning in life? So we engage in a lot of work that brings us close to spirituality, close to God, if you believe in, or the higher powers. We put ourselves in situations where we feel that we're serving some kind of purpose in life, which is not about showing people, but just being who we are. So we do that through volunteering, we do that through meditation and connecting with ourselves. And there are a lot of psychic experiences, sudden brain waves that happen which break the old mold of the world as we knew it. Some sort of sudden awakening, invisible information normally comes to light because there's so much light thrown on the invisible in your life, things that you did not see before, patterns that you did not see before, ambitions that you did not see before, your own talents and strengths that you did not see before. They would be found. This is the house of divine. We find divine here. And we do that by disengaging from the mundane to some extent. And in some ways, either through some incident or some your own choice, you'll find yourself retreating from the crowd when that happens. Or retreating towards a crowd which is of the thought process that you are in right now, of finding yourself. So we do a lot of work that is closer to spirit, charity work, volunteer work, spirit work, meditation, psychic experiences, spiritual comrades are found. But this is not about going to the mountains. You have Aquarius here. You do this because you want to contribute to a sea of people. You want to contribute to humanity. You want the blessings that you have been given with, which you're discovering now, those insights that you're getting, you would want to share that with people, with like minded through a platform or something. You would want it to reach out to people. You will probably even reach out to friends or people who are foreign from you here, electronically or through some sort of a group. And that will help you gain more insight on life. It will help you see through the mundane in some ways. We sometimes here think about our own past addictions, because the noise of the world sometimes does not let us see self chatter that is so um, disempowering in some ways. You will uncover yourself in this cycle, and Jupiter is going to come in your sign. Jupiter is one of your rulers, and it is coming in your sign for the for fully in 2022. But you'll see a preview of that between May to July. When Jupiter comes in our sign, especially when it rules you, it's like our whole identity is expanded, our external identity, the world, it's like the spotlight comes on you. So suddenly from being behind the scene, we go there, and you'll see a preview of that between May to July. And this whole year, most of this year will be dedicated to sort of getting ready for it, disengaging from your past self image, disengaging from expectation of others so you can become whole in some ways. You are exclusive of your external image. The other things don't define you. This is a self discovery, which is beautiful. Many of the people who have gone through it, and I've gone through Saturn in 12th myself transit, it becomes a time when you have to release a little bit of control over events, and events turn out much more in our favor when we do that, when we have faith, when we let life not, when we don't fight life. When we don't fight life, the life doesn't fight us during this phase. It becomes, if you believe in God, or even if you don't, just believe in higher power of the universe, in some ways, it becomes the timing, the time of God in our life in some ways. We really, through certain events which work out just out of nowhere, there's a faith which is unwavering it's created in life. And at this time, when we reach here after 29 years, that faith has been lost due to a lot of things. Sometimes that faith has been covered in experiences with other people. So we take that whole experience away because we are getting ready for a rebirth. When Saturn comes in our sign in 2023, it's like our whole physical identity is recreated. Jupiter is going to let you think more about life, be more from 2022 is itself. Saturn is going to make sure that that sticks, that new identity sticks. So you're getting ready for a major rebirth in 2022 and 2023 when these two planets are just focusing on you. And there's a major cycle that is beginning in Pisces following that. I mean, um, we're gonna have a concentration of planets in your sign. So right now, you will uncover yourself, the gifts that you have, the things that we've missed out. It can be a little bit of a tough time if we attach ourselves to our old story. If we still ego identify ourselves with who we were, our title, our external image, you will miss out on the adventure of your lifetime if you do that. Because there's something much more expansive waiting for you. This is the house of endings. We're coming full circle. So there's a 29-year process that is coming to an end, an old identity that is being dissolved. We discover a new way of seeing life and our place in that new life. Saturn requires us to take responsibility of our own fears, of our own undoing, of our own, the way we self sabotage ourselves, our own anxiety. It wants us to own it, handle it, slay it. We can feel our old identity crumbling in significance. Whatever we were before, it will be of no value moving forward. This is ego dissolution, no boundaries. Something new is coming up, but we cannot yet see it. What happens when you are in between where you started and you don't know where you're going becomes the time of faith, essentially. Unconscious mind is going to keep us a little busy. So you'll need to go into solitude. Sometimes it's forced in some ways. We are lonely sometimes in some ways. We are with the people, but not with them in some ways. Because you're reevaluating your place in the universe. It's not a small deal. You're reevaluating what you value. You're discovering yourself. Psychology, healing, past incidents, faith, spirituality, service without show, they all become focus for you. Because they're all needed for you to build up a new identity that is about to emerge. And that identity would be without any protection, only what you have within you. So you have to make yourself available for bigger things that are coming. Before all of that, the complexes of the subconscious are dealt with. 12th house dissolves your old boundaries and leaves us a little bit vulnerable because you have to be vulnerable to have faith. The moment of faith comes when we are fully vulnerable, but yet we move forward. Eric Solomon described this as maturing in private. It's like behind the scene is where large part of the work is happening. And this identity loss is important for your next chapter of life. Dreams, moods, sudden symbolism becomes much more valuable. It somehow gives you clues for the future. As I said, a sudden insight, and it could come through a sign, it could come through a dream, it could come through a moment of solitude in a meditation. You feel in the middle of this deep sea between departure and arrival, in the middle of it. Don't waste time imagining what you're going to find on the other side or what all can go wrong when you land there, when you reach the shore. Be in the current moment. Appreciate the opportunities that are coming from where you are right now. It's about making peace with where you are right now for you to evolve to a new person. Events of this transit, they're going to purify our psyche. We deal with any physical chronic disorders as well. And that happens through peace. It happens through peace of mind. It happens through innovative health health regimes, innovative healing processes, which involve psychological factors in play through retreats, through spirituality, through faith. Many of the issues of the health, they are overcome here. I'm not saying that the doctor should not be involved or we should ignore what they're saying, but there are factors beyond the medicine that work here, and they work very effectively. The blessing, the protection, the intuition, the spiritual insights, the charity work, the devotion, the prayers, the humanitarianism, the spiritual loves heals in very, very powerful way. You would find yourself in some ways sacrificing things for others. You'll find yourself doing things for humanity. And you somehow see the universe reciprocating in multiples. This is the house of karma. We we get the return of faith multiplied by many times here. I've seen this work for myself when this happened, and it's just that you need to affirm yourself that this is working out for me. Wherever I am right now, it's happening because of something I need to become, and this is working out for me. Jupiter, your ruler, is here, and it's very happy in this house because Jupiter is about faith and inspiration. So it grows your inspiration and healing flows. It grows the power of your guides, your internal guides and your external guides, to take you to the right place. And that happens through symbolism. That happens through sudden brain waves. That happens through people of common interest in deeper meaning in life getting together. And there's light in the darkness with that. There's deep faith created in the richness of life, that life is abundant. We find meaning in life. And once you have learned that, because Saturn is here, you sort of become the teacher of it. You have to go there to be able to teach somebody. So we become this inspirational leader. The gifted counselors, healers, psychics, inspirational leaders are born through this process. We get taken care of, and we understand this process, this flow of life, that when we don't fight life, the life doesn't fight us as well. You would face up all of those dragons, fears. You will walk this path of psychological self investigation, which could be, in fact, many a times through studies. And you will reconnect with severed parts of yourself to regain your connection to life flow without resistance, so that you can flow to what's yours without resistance too. It's like fitting a piece in the puzzle of life, where when you let yourself flow towards it without fighting the current, you fit in. And once you have learned that through your own practical experience, you would teach many with it. Whether it is in your professional capacity or through charity, through volunteering, you would help people through it. Because in name of security and social norms, all of us have this appetite for life that is lost, repressed. In the process of fitting into the physical world, we have repressed our taste for life. In psychology, that's defined as repression of sublime. And you discover that. It's like the taste buds that existed on our tongue when we were a kid, and they're lost over time, or being killed by different junk that we put in our mouth. You suddenly, all of those taste buds come back to life, and you realize how food is supposed to taste like. And once you've woken up to that kind of awareness, that kind of awakening, you want everybody to vibrate at that frequencies. And there would be many reasons, even for yourself, why those were suppressed, why that taste for life, that knowledge of your own talents, knowledge of your own strength. It could be a guilt, it could be something which happened in a very long past. This is about past karma. So something repressed from the past could come up on the surface, and we just had Mercury going back and forth here. So some of those patterns might have come up on the surface for you. How do we self sabotage? How do we undo our own strength? The undoing by secret enemies, our own subconscious, comes to surface here. Sometimes it's an actual event in the past that is buried in our subconscious, an encounter which happened long back in our life. And we need to withdraw from activity. We need the privacy to recollect from that. We learn the power of things beyond us here. And we discover in some ways that we are not alone in the world. We would discover that we have a lot of support from life. And most important lesson I've found of Saturn visiting here is taking responsibility of everything. If you want to just make one change, and that is going to completely change your life during this transit, is just own up everything that's happening. And owning everything that's happening in our life, and allow that to shape you in some ways. Because in some ways we tend to make excuses for what's going on in the life, and all of us do that. All of us have moments of this self defeatism where we defeat our own ability to move forward in life because we feel sorry in some ways, or regret our past in some ways, or we feel that good things are not possible for us in some ways. And that thought process of defeating ourselves in some ways, it's like feeling sorry for yourself in some ways, and we all have been there. It's not a specific for a specific transit or anything. This is deep seated for most of us. And this somehow Saturn over here, it says, because it's sort of your time where all the lights are going to be on you is coming. It's preparing for you, preparing you for that. It says take responsibility for everything that has happened in your life so far. Forgive everything that has happened in your life. Forgive anybody you need to be able to move forward. You'll find yourself that it might be a time, it's easy to disappear and tune out when this happens. You want to almost shut the crowd to some extent. But as I said in the February introductory video, we got to balance this transit a little bit. Because you have so much concentration in this house this year. We can almost get lost in the subconscious. It can get too much of it. So get out in some ways. You literally have to sometimes maybe push yourself to do that. I had to do that. I know a lot of people who had to do that. You sort of have to break the pattern somewhere, because it can get a little bit too much even too much of reading psychology, reading too much of spirituality, reading too much of self-discovery. It gets into a spiral sometimes, because it's tiring to the soul sometimes. The inventory, the self-test, this end of previous era can get a little bit, tiring. So go out, and in some ways, daily routines could help there. Having a full day planned in some ways, step by step, gets you to still do what's practical with that self-discovery. This is like making a list. Yeah, I need to get these tasks done. Because it will feel very easy to escape versus go out in the world. You'll find that you need a lot of quiet time and shut down when others are being loud in some ways. So the house of extraordinary, house of self-undoing and secret enemies, it's a heavy house to have. And we are choosing our journey here. And each one of us have to take ownership of our journey. So owning everything in the past that has happened to us as being our responsibility is a heavy thing to carry. But at the same time, that's not the only objective of this house. The objective of this house is to release, to forgive, to move forward, to detox, to dissolve what was past and be divinely inspired for the next phase of your life. And for the next phase of your life, you could start preparing in some ways, in some practical ways. So you would not be broadcasting your life on a larger screen to everyone, if I may say, but you would want to live your life in some ways because you're cleaning out your life. So living your life like it's being broadcasted on large screen to everyone. So there are no secrets, because when you have so many planets in your house of secret, even if there was a secret, it normally would come out. That would be a new learning as well from this cycle. I've seen when Saturn is here, anything that you were hiding, anything which was secretly being done in some ways, it normally comes out. It's normally brought to light, because that's the whole process of this cycle. It's trying to bring out secrets. And we choose our forward journey, but at the same time, you are dealing with some amount of past. It's going to be like merger of cleaning the house plus propelling to future. Most inspirational insights that you will ever experience, powerful and motivating, they will come in this time in your life. It's the time when you should journal those ideas. And you have Uranus right now in your house of thinking. Uranus is all about brilliant, inventive, forward looking insights. So it's possible that you're getting those in original ideas, sudden ideas, insights. It could happen through conversation, through somebody learning new skills, through media, through a lot of publication. And it's way ahead of its time, because our thinking is very non-linear when Uranus is here. We are changing our whole thinking when Uranus is here. Albert Einstein had Uranus in his third house, just like you do right now. There's a little bit of restlessness and high-strung feeling to it, which you'll learn to harness, because Saturn and Uranus are making a square with each other. So Saturn this year is going to try and make sense out of this high vibration, this dissonance that you're feeling. You will be forced to harness that into a passion, into something that you'll work behind the scene, into a larger purpose of life, which lets you participate in the bigger expression of life. So don't ignore those thought processes, this detached clarity that Uranus is giving you about the new trends, about some unique idea, about some inventive original idea that you're getting. And this could be very much in the area of publication, writing, interacting with clients in some ways. And your whole style of how you interact with your immediate environment is going to shift as a result of that. Your minds, your thoughts, your ideas, the way you exchange with others, the arts and talents that make you. It's like a very steep learning curve on a new way of thinking, new way of wording, composing, saying things. And this surge in communication is going to clash with your need to back out of all the noise, because you'll feel you're not ready, because you'll feel the past is not yet confronted. And it's right, you have to confront the past here of last 29 years of old patterns. Uranus is in your house of communication all the way till 2026. It's going to give you ample opportunities of media, of publication, of writing, of traveling, of innovative thinking, futuristic ideas, communication with people who are completely different. Your immediate environment will change a lot with that, because your thinking is changing. And when our thinking changes, the people who are in our surrounding change. You learn new skills in arts and crafts and commercial value skills. Your style in the way you talk, in the way you communicate, your skill sets, your way of thinking is being completely freed from past patterns. Uranus is like it detaches you from everything in the past which is holding you down. So it's like free thinking, the pleasure of free thinking, the pleasure of new mind in some ways, and pleasure of communication, fun, excitement in talking with people who are imaginative like you, who want to do something futuristic like you, who are a little bit restless to do something new like you. Saturn is going to help you deal with the dragons below that don't let you have fun with that. That sometimes holds you back from getting there. The dark side of us sometimes that get in the way of getting to a new reality. And it lets you take ownership of all of those patterns versus blaming it on anything else. It lets you handle it. An action is taken as you observe that things are changing in the commercial world and you sort of want to start something commercially viable. And Saturn in 12th feels at an intuitive level on what would make me fulfilled in that new commercial reality. Similarly, Saturn isn't here to cause fears or patterns or disagreements here. It's essentially here to handle the fears which stop you from speaking up those futuristic ideas, that stop you from marketing yourself. Uranus is in your house of marketing yourself. So it sort of Saturn is like, we got to handle past loss. We got to handle past incidents. We have to handle those patterns that you have developed to tame yourself and fit yourself in different ways in the society, which inhibit your ability to express your soul in some ways. There's uh, sometimes, a lot of capacity to take decisions, courageous decisions, that is lost over time because we take others too much into consideration. Uranus over here says, I don't care, I have courage, I'm going to do it. Saturn says, these are the patterns, these are the old things you got to get rid of. These are the hidden enemies, both inside and outside, and the issues that you need to deal with so you can do that. There'll be a need to possibly take on a faith practice some in some ways that powers you, that regenerates that pumps you up. It's not the time to push a lot of new projects, but it is the time to work on them behind the screen. I know that's not what you would really like. I'm not saying that this is a year when none of them will go on board. I'm saying that they have to have a larger purpose and they have to be all about being one with the universe, being of spiritual value to the universe in some ways. And the commercialization of them is going to happen the moment you release your past patterns and fears and inhibitions and slay those dragons, which Saturn is going to make sure through the process it does. It's going to make you into a new person because it will dissolve and clear your old mind and heal you from within. And then when Jupiter comes in 2022, we have a completely different framework to work with, a new and expanded frame of life. And as I said, you're going to experience a preview of that in May to July, which will be interesting time to watch out for. Whatever business or commercial activity you're launching this year, just make sure there's pinning of, in some ways, humanitarianism, some way to to help the people who need your help, where you are contributing to the whole because your individual ego is being dissolved here. It's almost like we merge with the rest, and that's why this is the house of karma. Like how we contribute to the sea of humankind comes back to us in some ways, and the karma is exaggerated in this space, which means that our thought process, our mind, and the ideas and the blessings we are being given during this time, they almost belong to humanity as a whole in some ways. So, being psychologically open to giving, and you would be, that's your natural self. This is your natural self. The concentration of the planets this year is in the house, which is as closest as Pisces as it gets. So, you'll feel in your element while doing it. It's something that you naturally do. But keeping that consciously in mind, especially when Saturn and Uranus are making a square with each other now in February when you're seeding it, then again in June when you're changing it, you're creating a new version of it, and then finally in December when it goes finally in its final form. In those moments, there will be a clash between the two. You'll find that with the commercial value versus what you want to do for the world, maybe there's a clash between that. Maybe there's a clash between you wanting to make it something new and the past patterns of yourself as well. You'll find that clash between the two. But from this tremendous tension will come an endless supply of creativity. It's sort of the square is the aspect that changes things, and it changes things in a much more valuable way. So you have both commercial success and soul embedded in what you're trying to do. And then once you have the graph of that in 2021, you can go out in 2022 fully with Jupiter expanding it many, many times out in the world. So that's what I have for you, Pisces. Good luck for this. What an amazing transit to have. And I'll see you in the next video now.